All right. I almost said good morning. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another UGetConnected community conversation. Appreciate everyone that's able to join us tonight. Thank you for being here. My name is Colin Burns Gilbert, and I use he, him, his pronouns, and I work with community engagement and orientation here at Viterbo University. And so we have the privilege of hearing from two individuals that work for agencies in the area that really focus on, well, they'll be able to tell you what they focus on in their introductions and throughout our evening tonight. But the goal is to learn more about both Centro Latino and Hope Restores, how they serve our community, and how we as community members can support them moving forward, not only now in this time of COVID, but beyond that and what support can look like. So with that, really just want to welcome Sister Antana, Shemaya. If you would like to share a little bit maybe about yourselves, introduce yourselves, your background, maybe how you got into your current role with the agencies, and we can start there and then transition into some of the next prompts for tonight.
Okay, great.
Perfect.
And so I have Shai here as well. She's Executive Director of Operations with Hope Restores. So we'll kind of bounce back between us both.
Thank you.
Awesome. So should I start?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So thank you guys, everybody, for asking us to tell you about Hope Restores. We are a new African-American resource center here in La Crosse area. We service Western Wisconsin, so La Crosse and the surrounding areas. How we came into play is that we are following the needs of the community. We were told by our allies in the white community that they want to help, they want to do more, they want to know how to use their white privilege. They had questions about, am I saying the wrong thing? Am I racist? I've been saying I don't see color, but I found out that that's wrong. So we really are just listening to the community. So we also are listening to the African American community here in La Crosse, and what some of their concerns were that they felt that they weren't connecting very well. They felt uncomfortable with the services. They were being mistreated by services here in La Crosse. They felt that there wasn't an African American community, and they just felt that they needed some kind of connection. Most cities have like an urban league or diversity council, which we have one here, but a diversity council, like an actual building you go to get services, or Freedom Inc. So here in La Crosse, there is nothing like that. And then we have our students, the Black student leaders and the youth that are saying, like, somebody needs to protect us. We can't learn, and our education is being affected due to racism in our schools, whether it's coming from peers or teachers having no knowledge about the African-American race. The kids were cried out about, being told that Black lives aren't the only lives that matter, and that they felt that the protests were pointless, just remarks that they shouldn't have to hear at school. So we decided to meet the need of the community, and that's how Hope Restores came into play. And so what we do here is we have support groups. We have a transportation program. We transport people to doctor's appointments, therapy appointments, grocery stores. We know that there's a lot of food deserts here in La Crosse, meaning like places that you can get affordable groceries, unfortunately. We do have a lot of Quick Trips, and everybody loves Quick Trip, but they don't have everything you need, and the food isn't affordable, So it's getting people to the grocery stores. During the weekends, the buses run funny. If you ride the bus, you know that, so yeah, the buses are ride funny on the weekends, and then taxis can be expensive, and then sometimes they can't meet the demand of the people. So we transport people to grocery stores, appointments, job interviews, and so on. We have a mini food pantry. We promote our clients to use the regular food pantries and also get connected with Food Share. But when they're here, they have the right to go in the closet and get the cabinet to get the things they need. It's a comfortable place, so they feel like it's okay to grab what they need. And we also focus more on toiletries, because that's a big deal, like Toiletries are something that you can't buy if you did get food share, and most pantries don't have a lot of them. So we focus a lot on toiletries. We are trying to promote having more African-American products. We've been having a hard time getting them, but we're working on getting more products for African-American hair. We also have a drop-in childcare. And so the drop-in childcare is for people, they can use it for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. They can use the childcare while they go do things like a doctor's appointment, therapy appointment, job interviews, job searching, looking for housing, GED programs, anything to better themselves. They can use the drop-in childcare. It is a really big need of the community. It's been a barrier, people of color who come here to La Crosse, most people don't have family. And so finding reliable childcare can be an issue. And so that's what we came up with, the drop-in childcare. We also have monthly office rentals here. So people who kind of have the same belief as Hope Restores, are small entrepreneurs, small business owners, they can rent out office spaces here. And let me see, kind of jumped around my list a little bit, but one of the main things that we do here is bridging the gap. We bridge the gap between the services here in La Crosse and the African-American community. We use a cultural approach to connect the services and the people who need them. We also follow up with the clients, and we hold the services accountable to make sure that they actually are following through with the clients and giving them the services that they need. So by doing that, we provide a survey to our clients, and we talk to services about, like, hey, are you guys having some issues in certain areas? Are you guys making sure that you are using a cultural approach? Are you making sure that your clients are comfortable? Do you have staff that reflects the clients that come to your service, And from that, we have a diversity training as well. So we train different services, churches, and even families on diversity. Pretty awesome, so let's just say your family wants to, learn more. We can come and train your family on diversity, and you can ask questions. So that's something that we really, really, what's the word? We really, really are big on the fact of allowing people to ask those questions that they can't ask. Like, don't go ask any random Black person, hey, this and that. Like, we are paid, we're professionals. You can sit there and you can ask us those questions that you wondered about, like questions about our hair, questions about our skin, just questions about like what you thought, and, things that people have said for years. They relate to the African-American community by like, well, I have a Black friend. Well, no longer, we don't want to hear that anymore. We want you. And then another thing people say is, I don't see color. Well, we want you to see color. We want you to recognize that we are different, So, this training, that's how it helps, it kind of educates people on the things that they didn't know. And there's no dumb question there. So anybody can ask questions. Shai, did you want to piggyback on anything?
Yeah, nice job, going services. Like she said, the biggest and most important takeaway that Hope Restores provides as a resource center for African Americans is that sense of support, right? Like that's the one area that we haven't been able to say, oh, I know what it's like to have a network of people that are just there to care for me. So they tend to miss out on that. And so we're getting a lot of immediate feedback as far as like the value that the individuals are getting from coming to the groups, the enhanced sense of community that they're feeling by having that support with the resource center. And they've been really just courageous and being vulnerable with us with their experiences that they've had. And it's really heartbreaking, but at the same time, it's hope, right? So like now we can walk through this with them, and they don't have to continue to be afraid that they're going to be re-traumatized by going out there and receiving those services. The other really valuable piece that Hope Restores kind of introduces to the whole mix of it all is that sense of trust, with Hope Restores coming along to help build those bridges. And by us saying, hey, we have Colin here that stopped into Hope Restores, he's looking for housing, I'm going to send him over there to talk to you, and when he's done talking with you guys, he'll come back and tell us how everything went. That gives whoever is there at housing or whatever that organization is, it gives them an opportunity to really put their best foot forward to start to work on the relationship that they currently have with the Black community and try to turn that around. And I think that's really where the problem is that once you are discouraged from receiving those services or you're turned away, it takes a lot for you to go back out there and to try again. And so, we need to come alongside of our Black brothers and sisters and say, hey, you know what? It's okay. Like, we're here. We can walk through this with you. Because ultimately, by them not going and receiving the services that they need, the entire family loses out. And so that's not what we want. The services are already here. This is a wonderful community. It's just about how do we communicate what you're doing in a way that it's going to be better received. And so in that way, it really is a very powerful tool for businesses to be able to work on relationship restoration or relationship building all together, which you're not going to be very effective helping people if they don't trust you and that relationship isn't there. So it's something that's going to take time, but as we continue to get individuals that come in for our services and we're able to make those connections, it gets some of those organizations more comfortable with seeing the traffic coming in, because that's one of the things that we hear is that we just don't know what the disconnect is, where there's not a lot of Black people that are, utilizing the services that are out here. We don't know because, we're trying and we talk to them. Well, there might be some lost translation there. And so it's just about figuring out where those opportunities are. And so, so far it's been really, really, really beautiful. It's been, people are speaking up about what the issues are. They've been very trusting with allowing us to bridge those gaps. And the organizations in town have been very receiving of what we have to offer with helping them build their clientele and things like that. So thank you. That's all I really have. I appreciate it.
Thank you both. That was perfect. I appreciate it. The overview and everything. We'll come back around with another couple questions, but Sister Antona, did you want to give us an introduction to yourself and Centro Latino? Oh, I believe you're still on mute there. Let's see.
Okay.
There we go.
Can you hear me well, or should I put the volume up?
You're good.
Okay. Well, I am Sister Antona Shedlow. I'm a farm girl from Wisconsin, and right now, and then had my education in that area. When I was quite young, I entered the Franciscan Sisters of Perpetual Adoration here in La Crosse. I think you've all heard of us, or at least seen our buildings. And after teaching for some years in the States, I was a missionary in El Salvador for 31 years, which I enjoyed immensely. And then I returned home into the United States in 2010. And naturally, with the desire and mission work that I have, I always wanted to enter something that would continue this same ministry. So when I got to St. Rose Convent, and they had an immigration task force, which now is called Cooley Region Immigration Task Force, I joined it. And they had always been thinking of starting a center for the Hispanic. So they would have some place that they could call home, some place where they could find the help that they needed. And so after about 2 or 3 years after I got home, we started the Centro Latino, which is a resource center. It almost sounds like what the other two girls were saying. They were really sounds interesting. I'd like to hear more and meet them individually. So we started Centro Latino, which I'm going to tell you in the next thing, because that's the way I understood this. But Our goals and objectives were something like this: to provide hospitality and respect to the Hispanic community, we call it Latino here, in a place they feel welcome, to be compassionate listeners, to provide English as a second language, to help the Latino community find resources needed to integrate into society, to make immigration legal services available, to connect, and this is very important, to connect new Hispanics with others and the wider community. And then if they needed access to computer, that more or less was a thing. They've never used it so far. We use it, but they didn't ask for that. So that is really what our goal was when we started. And I'll tell you more about it in the next question.
Yeah, thank you, Sister Antona. Do you want to dive into that next piece there? I know Shemaya and Shai really kind of did a good job giving an overview of a lot of the different services and opportunities that Hope Restores brings to the community. Do you want to touch on some of those pieces for Centro Latino?
Oh, okay. So what does our agency do? Well, Centro Latino is a resource center, as I mentioned in the introduction. That means a Hispanic, and I say Hispanic because that was the need 6 years ago when we started. Now we probably would invite other people, or if somebody come with, for sure we would help them. A resource center means if a Hispanic needs something, we want to try to help with their need. Would it be translation, interpretation, immigration papers, Spanish-speaking lawyers, doctors, dentists, job, food, clothing, or English classes, whatever we see that the need is, and we try to fulfill it. It isn't always easy since many offices do not have Spanish speaking people in their workplaces or other places. So it's hard to find a dentist that they have somebody speaking Spanish, or even a doctor. We rent, and that's what I'd like to ask the others, where their offices and their telephone number too. We rent in the First Baptist Church 2 lovely rooms on the lower level, which is located at the corner of Main and West Avenue. And it's kitty corner from the YMCA. Most people know where that is. So it's just kitty corner from there, just around. And our door, the door you would enter, is right on West Avenue. So if you're going down West Avenue, walking or driving, you can see the glass door and it has our name on it. Our hours are limited. We only are open on Monday and Tuesday nights from 6 to 8, and during the day on Tuesday from 10 to 2. But we are open on telephone and email 24/7 for any emergency. We are all volunteers, and we ask nothing for our English classes or other work. We have wonderful Viterbo University students and UWL students volunteering, and a few others who help us who know Spanish, but you don't necessarily have to speak Spanish to work with us. The last years, have we been getting more inquiries from agencies, federal agencies, and so on. But it's usually rather hard because they don't have anyone speaking Spanish, and because of immigration problems. You have to have a social security number or some of the things like that, and not all of ours have us. And when I said Centro Latino is a resource center, I found out it could include almost anything. And I'll give you an example or two. One snowy day, 3 years ago, it was a winter, I got a young fellow that I had met before, and he said his cousin was missing 2 days ago. And they have no idea where he was. So we called the police, which I had to be very careful of because you never know what could happen. After a week, we found him frozen dead under the snow. Why? Who was he? We know who he was, but what happened? Was it an accident or what? So the police led the investigation, and I had to find a funeral parlor and the arrangements since the mother wanted him shipped back to Guatemala. So I had to find the Guatemala embassy and see how we had to do that, prepare. And the police had to find an autopsy. So it included quite a bit of things. And that wasn't my idea when we started this this office, things like that. But we are all resourced, and then they came to where they should. So finally, we got everything together. We had a little Spanish service here, and then we had the body shipped, and had the funeral and the mass in, or the whatever it was, in Guatemala. So this is a new type of thing, but it takes time. It takes a lot of time. You have to get a lot of people, and well, you just have to be careful because not all of these are from the United States or have a background. So, but anyhow, it worked out fine. And then another experience, and this was very unusual, but again, a good experience for me. A fellow came and he had a doctor's bill for $131,734.74. And the thing that happened was he was working on a farm, and the neighbor's farm, the neighbor's farmer was shooting birds, pigeons, I think, and shot him in the eye. So he had to go to Mayo. He went to Mayo. It's a very close place here. And then he had to go to Rochester and have a couple of surgeries. And so this happened in December 8th, 2018. And so we worked with him, going to doctors and getting another surgery, and working with lawyers to help because, well, they had to find out, was it intentionally, or was it so we worked with lawyers for 2 years, and finally this January we got the case won and all the bills paid, but the guy never got his eye back. So he said, I came with 2 eyes and I would like to go back with 2, but no matter how much, what we did, he couldn't go back. So it is things like that when we say we have a resource center, we never know what can come. We get many of the little things. Okay, I need a job. Where can I find this or that? But you get these other things that are a little harder and takes a lot longer. It takes hours, takes years to do it. So as a resource center, anything can happen, and I never know what it is.
Well, it sounds like you have some pretty powerful impact there, especially with those stories. Thank you,
Well, I
Sister.
mean, just so you don't know what happens, and if you're going to be resource center and you say you're going to help them.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you sharing
Thank
those. A couple just kind of follow-up questions for folks. You kind of touched on it a little bit, but maybe can you speak to some of the amount of community members you've been serving, or kind of what participation looks like in the different resources that you offer, whether it be, the groups at Hope Restores, or maybe some of the job or training or legal services, just kind of
Well,
what
we
that
work with
impact
Catholic
looks like?
charities, so if we have some immigration problem or they need papers, we can't do the papers because we aren't sort of authorized for that, but we can help them as much as we can to get the information, and then we can send it to Catholic charities. And I have another lawyer or 2 that also helps. So that helps. And the greatest, I think, the need that the people usually aren't, do I have a job? I just came last week. I got a call from North Carolina. Can I have some food? Well, I said, we're a little it's quite a distance. I said, let me see if I can find something closer. So I called, looked for it on internet and found a place. I said, call this place, maybe they can give you some food. So jobs, I would say, times some problems, they need a little counseling. But the biggest thing that we have constantly are people learning English. They want to learn English. And that's where the volunteers come from, those 2 schools, the university and from Viterbo. And they're just lovely to work with. And that is, we have them almost every hour that we have at night. We can have, we have sometimes 3 people teaching in 3 different rooms or out in the hall. And we're usually quite full with the English, but that's completely stopped now. But that talk about later in our 4th question, I think, our 3rd question.
Thank you.
Any other question?
I guess I would just kind of transition into that third prompt there of what's happening now with your agencies. Maybe sharing a little bit more about, you know, whether it be how COVID has impacted, or maybe some of the trends as far as which programs are more popular or utilized in the community, and where that looks like.
I got that ready. Yeah. The pandemic really threw a wrench in our work at Centro Latino, especially the English speaking, because that was face to face. And we couldn't do that. Besides, the church where we were had to close, and so we were closed too. So I had to continue doing the work by telephone and email, all of us, and that worked out fine. However, we couldn't help those on the ground outside. I'm living at St. Rose. St. Rose is like a nursing home, assisted nursing home. It was the closest, so I could walk to Centro Latinos. So we are all quarantined. Matter of fact, we're still quarantined. And so everything I do is always by phone or internet, email. But this is where God was really good, because I told you we were started by Cooley Region Immigration Task Force. And so since I couldn't do it and help them with their rent, their food, energy bills, and loss of jobs, Cooley Region Immigration Task Force came alive, and they started. First, they got a big grant from Community Foundation, and they were able to help all year our 50 families with rent, energy bills, food, clothing, hygiene, cleaning supplies, diapers, and so on. And they had drives to help for toys for children for Christmas, clothes, winter clothes, and some clothes they bought. So they were just fantastic, and they have been working straight through every week, giving food, money sometimes for rent, until we found out another agency. So that was just tremendous. The pandemic continued but our people, I think I only know 2 people of all of them that had COVID. So they were not hit, at least ours, as far as I know. But people started hearing of the good work they were doing. So they started coming from Arcadia, Templo, and Monroe counties. And we had beautiful help. We found out little by little from, let's see, let me read them off. Cooley Cap, I think that's where now they're get their rent paid. Wafer, Hunger Task Force, so, the church, some of the churches, and all this help us fulfill our the people's needs. And so it was the greatest gift that could be given to us, was to have that come alive, that immigration task force, which had been sort of working for years, but not really on the ball. But they really came alive. And so my part was always doing the telephone, and the other being at the weekly Zoom planning meeting. And then I said, okay, you'll have to do the work. I'll do the praying. So that's about it on that.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Shemaya or Shai, do you have anything to add there with kind of current trends that you're seeing with the folks you're serving, or kind of in the area? And I touched a little bit on that with the welcome and the intro, and kind of the work that you're doing, basically coming from the community voice, and both in the schools and being that bridge between the services there. Anything else related to what's happening now, whether it be connected to COVID or kind of as you've been forming throughout the last few months?
Sure. First, I just want to I'm clapping and jumping up and down. I love it, Antona. You do the work and I'll do the praying. And that's what we're all about too, because he can do so much more than we can do. So I was like, yeah. But as far as COVID goes, it's affected a lot of people, as far as the clients that are coming in, the families. the women's group last night, we're hearing a lot of anxiety around it, just fear to live life like they normally would, just because there's so much anxiety, so much fear and depression around what's going on with this. And they want to live, you know. They're in the schools. There has been a lot of confusion as far as how to handle it. We're seeing families whose confidentiality has been like breached, and they don't really know how to deal with that. And so they're feeling very powerless on top of kind of what's going on. And so we've just been really trying to advocate for them, but then also pour in them as best as we know possible to just renew their spirit and just work with them on that. The kids are feeling really hurt when it comes to schools are sharing, you know, what's going on in their families. If one person has COVID, everyone has to leave, but it's not being done in a private way. So they feel like they're almost being made a spectacle of. Which is really very difficult. So we're having a lot of families come through, and we're talking to them from that standpoint. We're doing a lot of connection through phone calls and virtually, just so that people are staying connected and they're staying faith-filled, I guess, hope. But hold on, buddy, I'm in the middle of a meeting. I'm sorry. So yeah, it's between the students and the adults that are coming in, we're just doing the best that we can to support them, because they do let us know what ways they need the support, and just making sure that we're doing a lot of that legwork with reaching out for them until they're comfortable coming in. The ones that do come in, just being that shoulder that they need to help them carry that burden. So yeah, just giving as much support as we can during these times. It's kind of scary for all of us, I guess.
Absolutely, especially with all the uncertainties. I appreciate it, Shai. Thank you. Just kind of wanted to move on to that last prompt there, I guess, because that's, I think, one of the best reasons why we're here, is to kind of talk about what the community can do to support your agency, the individuals you're serving, whether it be through maybe some of the formal volunteering or service opportunities you have, or even just, you know, on our own individual levels. Any recommendations or places that you want to share with the group there? Do you want to go first, Sister Antona?
Yes, I can tell you what I have down. I said anyone interested that they want to join the Cooley Region Immigration Task Force. There's only a small, powerful group of 8 that's been doing all this work, but they've just been fantastic. So, and you don't have to speak Spanish to be able to help them in getting the food, delivering the food, and all of that. When Centro Latino opens, you're always welcome anybody's welcome for a volunteer or to help. Again, you don't always need Spanish, because there's other things that you could help with. And our phone number is 608-515-9134. And I'll repeat it. 608-515-9134. And it's always with me 24 hours. And then our email is centroLatinoLacrosse@gmail.com. So if anybody wants to call, or anybody have any questions or something, feel free to do so. And then I would say encourage big people and businesses that get someone in that can speak Spanish or understand Spanish, so our people can get what they want without being embarrassed. And tell them where they can go if they want something that they don't have, but they know someone else that does. So just helping them. And then I would say the greatest thing that I've been working on for ever since I started, the one thing was the DACA, and the DACA people are now being taken care of. That's where the Immigration Task Force is working now. They're working on, well, they have 4 big things that they're working on. Let's see what they're. First, award scholarships to students in DACA and undocumented that have undocumented status, assist individuals DACA and green card application, advocate for driver's card, and that's what I'll talk a little more about. Plan to visit the Mexican border at late 220, but I think a group is going down next week. Advocate and educate for more immigration policies, how funds are used for forced immigration, and continue to minister to needs of immigration families in the 4 county areas. So the one on that the driver's card that I really think would help, and I think it might help the other group too, Shemaya's group, is to have 12 states have this, or maybe even 13 with Minneapolis or in Minnesota, that they can get a driver's card if they pass the test, and if they pass the test and naturally pay the fees that you have with the test, and that they have it in Spanish and not in English, the test. And then because if they have that, they are going to be saved so much, because they're always being stopped, not for doing anything wrong, but it seems like just because they're brown, they stop and have to see their license. Their license is from Mexico or from other places. And so, okay, $500 or $600, fine. And then, but they need to drive. They need to take their wife to the hospital when it's time for the baby to born. They need to take the children to school. The husband needs to work. So it's so important that they get a license. It's called a license card. About 4 years ago, it almost passed, or they tried passing and it didn't in Wisconsin. And I think a group is starting to try to get it again, but that is something would be so important and would help, and would also be help on the highways too. It would be safer driving because everybody knows how to drive the correct way. And so I've been pushing that. The one thing I've been pushing with DACA, and that's pretty good now. And this thing, I just got to get some senator or somebody behind me to see if we can get that. So I guess that's the biggest need. And Centro Latino, well, if I have anybody else, once we can get open and get back to normal, come and stop and visit, stop in and see what can be done.
Yeah. Do you have an idea, Sister Antona, of what that'll look like, that timeline?
I don't know. We're going to be able to go out a little further than around the block next week. And the church opened on Easter Sunday. So the church is open now. So I don't have to worry about that. But I don't know when they're going to let us out, because it's not that, it's just that most of them are older than I am. And so they're very vulnerable to diseases and something like that. And they just don't want to get it in the building, because that would be 40, 50 people that it would entail. And that would be quite dangerous.
Absolutely. Thank you for doing that for
Mhm.
for them and for everyone.
Mhm.
Appreciate it.
Can't say it's easy. It's boring. It's long days.
Well, my office is just across the road. If you want to wave out your window,
Well, I got some hearts on my window if you want to wave.
we can do that. Yeah, we can send you a message. Thank you.
You're welcome.
How about for Shai or Shemaya there, about anything moving forward that us as community members can do, either individually or supporting the organization, opportunities to volunteer
Or giving us their address and telephone number.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. There's some in the chat there too, Sister Antona, so we can share that with you as well.
Okay.
Anything to add there from Hope Restores?
Yes, thank you, Sister Antona, for all the information that you shared. We really appreciate that.
Thank you.
And we actually can't wait to start to network with you after this. We will be.
Yeah, that should be fun. Yes.
Yeah. If you could put your email address in the chat too, so we can maybe email you or phone number to give you a call.
Okay, that's fine.
Great. So with Hope Restores right now, there is 2 full-time staff, which is me and Shai. We have a part-time staff, and then the Black student leaders are helping us run Hope Restores. So we could really use some help. There is just a lot of demand and a lot of services that want to connect with us, tons of emails. from the food pantry to transportation to the drop-in daycare. It can be a little overwhelming. We are being very obedient, and we are listening to what the higher power has in store for us and what he wants us to do. And then we also are listening to the needs of the people, and we know this is what we're supposed to be doing. We could actually use some volunteers for sure. There's just so much to do. Just volunteers could help in so many different areas with the drop-in daycare, transportation, the giving cabinet, helping us with emails. Just somebody could help us with our website page, updating things, just social media in general. Just helping us get out there to the community, letting them know that we're here. So volunteers are something that we could totally use. Just that connection with services in the community and people in the community. One thing that we ask for our allies, people with privilege, start to make this a us problem, think about things that you can do. And if you don't know what you can do, call us up, and get involved. The African American Resource Center is to help create equality for all. So this center needs to be here in La Crosse, and other cities have like urban leagues, Freedom Inc., and different places like that. So it needs to be here. We need to meet the needs of the African American community, and we need to connect, so making this issue a issue for everybody, and everybody stepping up and doing something to, create equality for everybody, and so that's it's something important, having that conversation with your family, because racism, unfortunately, it starts at home, and it's time to put an end to anybody in your household that is still stuck in the ways, of making jokes about other cultures or finding that funny, or just are not willing to open their hearts to understand that we all deserve a good life, And so have that conversation at home. For businesses and people in higher places, or, you work at companies, we have a diversity training, making sure that the African American community is a reflection at the business that you're working at. Do you see people of color that work with you? Are there people of color in the services that you go to? Just trying your best to use the privilege that you have to, speak for the underdog. And it's something that needs to be done. So I'd say, come to Hope Restores, come visit us, come see what we do, put us out there, promote that you've heard about us, pass along the word that there's a new resource center for African Americans, just any kind of support. Right now, we are traumatized as a community. It's sad that every time we're on social media, you're checking the news, it's something sad that's going on, and it's like, we don't need to be re-traumatized when we go seek services. We don't need to be re-traumatized when we go to places to get education, So La Crosse has potential, and I believe that we are here because La Crosse is going to do a 180, and it is going to be a community that promotes diversity and equality for all. And all of us are responsible for making that happen. And so I just ask everybody, do your part and speak up. And, if you don't know what to do, ask questions. And so, I don't know, Shai, did I leave anything out?
No, I think that you put it very well. It's going to take all of us, is the biggest takeaway. We are a resource center for African Americans, but that doesn't go without saying that we are very much so under the impression that it's going to take all of us. Black people didn't create this problem. Most white people were born into it. It's the systems that are broken. And so if we're going to attack these systems, it's going to take you, Kelsey, you, Colin. It's going to take all of us. So we just ask that, you guys join in. There's a part for all of us to play. And we are fully confident that if we tackle this thing together, that this can be a really beautiful community, not just for us, but for our kids and for other people to come. We shouldn't have to leave La Crosse to have a good life. We can have it here and we can have it together. Let's be neighbors. Let's share and love on one another. And just, there's a lot of wins to be had here. And we want to have it here. You know, Maya talked about the re-traumatizing. I cannot tell you how emotional yesterday was for me, my family, my brothers. We can make La Crosse a beautiful place, but it takes all of us. So come see the center, you guys. Know where our hearts are. When we win, we all win. Like there's so much great things to be had. Don't not come because you don't have enough melanin. You got plenty of melanin to come to Hope Restores. Come and see us. Come have coffee with Hope Restores. And we would love for you to share in our project and so we can build in this community. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I mean, if you're not motivated after that, are you awake right now? I appreciate it. Thank you for all you're doing. And we'll definitely be connecting back for sure. I'll be following up with all y'all after this to touch base and see what we can do for collaborations. I guess before we open it up to questions from anyone else, I just wanted to offer it back to Sister Antona or Shai or Shemaya if there's anything that we didn't get a chance to ask about tonight or anything that you didn't get a chance to highlight or talk to. You want to share that now before we open it up to any questions from the group?
Well, I am just so grateful to hear about this. I haven't heard it. I knew they needed someone like that, and I am associated with the, what's that, diversity, what is that called? Diversity Council or something like that. Yeah, I was acquainted with that, but I had never heard of this organization. So I am thrilled. I'm just dying to get out there and work with you and share together because we have about the same thing, just work with different cultures. So now you got me all excited and I got to stay here in my room. So I'm anxious to meet you. I can't pronounce your name, Shamara? No, whatever it is, but I'm so glad to hear you. Shemaya.
Yeah,
So
Shemaya and Tashira.
Samira and Sis. Okay.
And we go by Shai. She's Shai and I'm Maya.
Oh, that's much better. Shai and Mai.
Thank you. Yep. Yeah, thank you so much. We are so excited to hear about what you're doing in the community. We cannot wait to network with you as well. Like, awesome.
Thank you both. I appreciate it. Any questions from folks before we wrap up tonight? Anyone that was joining in? I know we had a few hanging out there. You can send a question in the comments or just unmute and ask Hope Restores or Centro Latino any of your questions. And luckily too, this isn't your only time to ever ask questions because both groups exist beyond this Zoom recording, which is loud and clear from something that we can all do as community members to give back and support them and reach out and ask those questions and do something, right? Being active and doing something is certainly better than being passive and waiting for a change to improve and for our community to be more inclusive. So with that, thank you all again. Really appreciate it. And you all have a good rest of your Wednesday evening, April 21st here. So thank you again. And hopefully we're able to help bring some more folks your way and lighten that burden just a little bit. So thank you all for what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, thank you.